delivery through a virtual platform as we continue to adapt to the coronavirus pandemic. Now I'd like to introduce to you our 2020 Chamber Chair, Rick Reikenis, who will be the host of today's program. Rick?
Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here today with you. This morning, given everything that's going on, we're truly fortunate to have Dr. Donald E Fenoy, Superintendent of the Palm Beach County School District, to address us. I'm sure that many of you have all kinds of questions. We're going to have time for Q&A with Dr. Fenoy a little later. We're going to ask that you type your questions, if you have any, into the chat box, and we're going to present your questions a little bit later in the program. We want to thank today our presenting sponsor, Kaiser University, represented by our friend and fellow Chamber Trustee, Kimberly Lee, President. Kim, thank you so much for leading a first-class organization that is now delivering traditional and online classes for both traditionally aged students and professionals who are now returning to college to start or complete a degree. Also, we'd like to thank our 2020 Wi-Fi sponsor, Baptist Health, represented today by another very good friend and Chamber Trustee, Michelle McGovern, Director of Government and Community Relations. Just like this event today, the Chamber's new 2020-2021 Education Guide to the Palm Beaches is available to you online on the Chamber website at www.palmbeaches.org, palmbeaches.org, or you can feel free to stop on by the Chamber offices to pick one up, as the Chamber is open Monday through Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. Check out what local universities and educational leaders are doing in response to COVID-19. These award-winning directories also include contact information for all Chamber members who represent many diverse industries. Let us recognize today our shared values as business leaders in our city of West Palm Beach, that every child is my neighbor and a potential future leader of our city. Today, let's agree and commit to helping each child gain a fair chance at having the basic resources needed as a result of COVID-19. We know that in our neighborhoods, not all families can afford basic school supplies, internet access, or laptops, desperately needed for them to enjoy the privilege of safely learning from their home. In the past, we have supported both Belvedere Elementary and Pleasant City Elementary schools with our fundraising from this event. Both of these schools, as well as a number of others in West Palm Beach, have over 75% of their kids in the free or reduced lunch program supported by the No Child Left Behind initiative. If this is as disturbing to you as it is to me, I invite you to make a difference this year in the life of one child and a family. You know what? We now know that $50 can provide internet access for a family for a full month. So $500 can provide it for a full school year. Last year, you all generously gave, and we were able to raise approximately $6,000. You know, with that kind of money, we could provide internet access for a year for 12 families. If you're able to give, please let us know. You can go ahead and type in your name and the amount you want to give. If you go to the chat box and click on the chat box and then click on one more time, it'll take you up in the upper right-hand corner. It'll take you to a link where you can go ahead and donate today. So we're asking corporations, friends, families to go ahead and chip in today during this program to see what we can do to help our kids who need the help the most to basically stay on track and keep in program and become tomorrow's leaders. I just got a message in, Florida Power and Light. Don Kiselewski has sent us a note. Florida Power and Light is going to match all gifts from you guys up to the first $1,000. So as you're putting money in, keep in mind you're getting a BOGO, you know, you're getting buy one, get one, and the first $1,000 is going to be a match from FP&L. Just got another note in from Don and Sally Chester. Sally, I know you're watching because you told me last night and you told me you're going to keep us on track. Don and Sally Chester, very good friends, are also going to match the second $1,000 that comes in from our audience today. So we've got $2,000 in matches, and as long as we're doing that, I can't believe I'm going to do this, but I'm going to do it again. Reikenis and Associates, which is me, we're going to do the third $1,000. So we've got $3,000 in matching funds out there for you guys today. Please get on the chat box, click on the thing, and let's go ahead and get some money going to these kids who need it in these crazy, crazy times. Everybody needs all the help they can get, and if you can help out a little bit, that would be really awesome. So I've got another note for all parents of school-age children. The Palm Beach County School District has a hotline set up, which is the Back to School Helpline. It's open for you Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. And if you've got kids, write this number down. This is important. 561-969-5840, 969-5840. That Back to School Helpline hotline is open through mid-September, again, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., and it has friendly people on the other line, just like me, ready to help you navigate your child's plan for returning back to school, either virtually or back to the classroom. So, speaking of people who help by volunteering, we're going to be recognizing some outstanding women at our annual Athena Awards program coming up just about 4 weeks from now. Tickets are now on sale. This is important. Tickets are now on sale for the Athena Awards program. You don't want to wait to get yours because these are going to sell out fast. It's only 4 weeks away. Mark your calendars, Friday, September 25th from noon to 1 p.m. Newsflash, we have the finalists. For the Athena Leadership Award category, Amy Royster with Idea Bar, Anne-Marie Sorrell, the Mosaic Group, Calinthia Dillard with the Palm Beach County Office of Inspector General, Melissa McKinley, Palm Beach County Board of County Commissioners, and Roberta Journey, Quantum House. For the Athena Young Professional Leadership Award category, our finalists are Allison Allie Sewell, Brightline, Rachel Bonlaren, Palm Beach State College, Sarah Cohen, Legal Aid Society of Palm Beach County. And lastly, for the Athena Organizational Leadership Award category, our finalists are Greenberg Traurig, Student Aces, and Junior Achievement of the Palm Beaches and Treasure Coast, Inc. Don't miss this program. Get your tickets now online at the Chamber website. Now, it is my pleasure to formally introduce Kaiser University's West Palm Beach president, fellow Chamber trustee, and our very good friend, Kimberly Lee. Take it away, Kimberly.
Thank you, Rick. Good morning. Thanks for that intro. I appreciate it very much. I'm thrilled to be here again with you representing Kaiser University's at the Chamber's Back to School Breakfast. I always love this event because to me it signifies the launch of a new school season. As a lifelong educator and a mom of four, I seek the comfort of those routines and crave that return to normal, which happens each fall. But of course, it's 2020, so the routine that I'm craving seems to be way out in the distance out there. So I'm trying to adapt to that, right? Nonetheless, the calendar tells us it's time to make some room for these new routines, and it's time to come back to school. I don't know about you, it's been a long couple months. As a human, I feel some mental fatigue, some concern, and I secretly or not so secretly wish away the chaos. I just want to go back to normal. Today, we're going to hear about adapting and pivoting and embracing change. We each have experienced our own personal journey since March, and we've changed a bit in the process. Today, as Dr. Fenoy shares his vision for the new school year, we listen intently because suddenly the start of school has shifted our understanding of what schools are to us in this community. We continue to look at them not only as parents and grandparents this season, but now we've been reminded about how intertwined we all are. As employees, we realize how much the school system and its routines help us function so we can go to work and function as families. As employers, we're listening closely to how going back to school will roll out because it impacts how our own employees navigate their work-life balance. This story continues to unfold, and we each continue to reflect and learn, adapt and pivot, and to solve the problems as they arise. My goal today is to give you very quick updates about Kaiser University overall. I could do a whole thing on what that's been like. But I'll give you a couple of updates that'll just kind of catch you up. KU is a SACS Level 6 institution. We're accredited and we have degrees ranging from associates to doctorate degrees. We're a nonprofit university that opened in 1977 with one single student, and now we've grown to close to 20,000 students. We have 21 campuses throughout the state of Florida, as well as Nicaragua and Shanghai, China. Within Palm Beach County, we have 2 KU campuses, each with a different focus. My campus, which is located off of Okeechobee and Jog, focuses on career-oriented degrees taught to students who are generally considered to be non-traditional adult learners. My campus mirrors our diverse community. Majors include nursing, chiropractic medicine, radiography, crime scene, physical therapy, as well as criminal justice, business, and psychology. Many of these programs rely on clinical experiences for students to apply what they have learned. With COVID, not only have we had to adapt our traditional lectures, but we've had to find solutions for students to practice their skills. We moved to remote instruction models in March, and we were very pleased to watch our faculty and students adapt and thrive. Through the summer, our enrollment has continued to grow, and we shifted to small group instruction on campus for skills-based learning. On Monday, we will return to campus with faculty and students coming to campus weekly with protocols for small class clusters of students and intentional groupings. In the last week, we've seen our team and our students return to campus and navigate this new normal. At our residential flagship campus on Military Trail, led by Gary Bonk, our students are traditional age college students who are looking for college experiences with dorms, activities, and athletics. Students come from around the state and around the world to attend programs such as business, psychology, and sports medicine, but also some non-traditional degrees like golf management, equestrian studies, and film. Our athletes are back on campus, and our other students are returning within the next 10 days. As with all schools, our safety protocols are in place, and we'll continue to review and revise those as needed. Today, as we speak to you about where we are and what we do, we continue to ask the business community to seek out and identify jobs and opportunities for our grads. We invite you to speak to our students via Zoom or to come in on campus and share your professional wisdom. We also want you to know that we've used this time for new processes to create new initiatives, including a leadership program with best-selling author Don Yeager for all incoming students, which we think will help our students thrive and navigate this new normal. As grumpy as all of this makes me some days, I'm also uplifted and thankful too. I'm thankful for our local leadership who continue to work on plans which get revised countless times and who find ways to help those in our community who are suffering. I'm thankful for the teachers and appreciate how much our schools provide our kids and our community with food, routines, caring professionals, and safety, which somehow went unnoticed before all of this. While I'd really like to be back to normal, maybe normal was overstated. Maybe we took too many things for granted, and this is that realignment. For me personally, I'm trying to remain positive and seek out a few COVID blessings which have come from this unprecedented time. I've stopped saying to my kids and my staff when things go back to normal. And I'm trying to live in the here and now and use this downtime to reinvent, to learn, and connect to what's important to me and my life. I encourage you to do the same. Maybe this is a time for you to reinvent. Maybe you go back to school. Maybe you discover you want to be a teacher. Maybe the time has called you to get involved and dig in with these schools, understanding what's happening and how complicated education is to provide to our students makes us all want to lean in a bit. I have had to adapt from a mindset which focuses on accountability and efficiency to one which incorporates much more compassion and a lot more patience. Even though I'm looking at myself in this little Zoom box today, I'm challenged to think outside of this box and design better plans and a better community. And finally, I've come to realize that social distancing is not a time to pull away from important relationships. I can be emotionally close, and maybe even more so, while I remain socially distant. I very much look forward to hearing Dr. Fenoy's remarks and supporting our teachers as we return to school. Thank you very much for your time and attention this morning, and I'm hopeful that you will feel free to reach out to me to connect on how we can partner to make a better community. It is now my pleasure to introduce Dr. Donald E Fenoy. Dr. Fenoy is the 26th Superintendent of Schools for the School District of Palm Beach County. The district is the 11th largest district in the country, with a student enrollment of more than 193,000 students. Prior to his appointment as Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Fenoy served as the district's Chief Operating Officer from May 2016 to March 2018. He graduated from Florida A&M University with a degree in elementary education. He went on to earn his master's degree in educational leadership and his doctorate in educational leadership and administration from the University of Central Florida. He and his wife Kendra are here and the proud parents of 2 beautiful children. Dr. Fenoy, thank you so much for taking time to share with us today the recap of the 2019-2020 year and the vision for 2021.
Well, first of all, Kimberly, thank you. And you've been such a great friend since I took this job. We spent a lot of time together. So it's always fun to be around people that understand that laughter is you see so much. And so I'm excited about giving our families an opportunity to hold on one second. Looks like my speaker out?
You're back on now. You're back on
okay.
now. Yep.
Okay. All right, let me know if it goes out. But the district begins school, the 2020-2021 school year in just 3 days, on August the 31st. Our reopening school plans will set forth a robust curriculum which begins with distance learning. Our district will reopen campuses and return to brick and mortar approximately 1 week after the county moves from phase 1 to phase 2. So there's a lot of that in the news. I'm looking forward to those decisions being made because at some point in the near future, and at that point, parents will have a choice. This is very important. As this whole situation has evolved, we obviously were originally decided to move the school year back until August 31st. So we would have given ourselves time to assess the situation. The good news is here in Palm Beach County, thanks to all of our citizens doing their part, our numbers are going down significantly. And I think that is great. And so for me, again, as a father of 2 young children, absolutely. And even in my house, families are going to be making tough decisions. I can tell you personally, my house is torn. My oldest child, who happens to be the boy, he's going to school. My 4-year-old daughter, who's supposed to start kindergarten, daddy's just not ready for that yet. So we're gonna leave her out for a year. Mom is like, no, she can go too. I'm like, well, no, my baby girl can't. So we'll get that right. Because for me, unfortunately, even though I'm the superintendent, the rules are going to be the rules. We were not going to be able to walk into schools like we used to. And, so for me, not having the ability to walk my daughter to her first class, I can't live with that right now. So we will wait a year. But again, these are the type of choices families are going to make. And the good news is that the system has created a situation where families can have that choice and move in and out of it once things become safe. And so, that's important. So it's important for parents and guardians to understand that we have reformed and refined our approach to distance learning and created a more robust model so that our teachers are better prepared to engage with students in real-time instruction every day. The school day will begin on a regular bell schedule. Teachers will be live in a Google Classroom every single day. Students' attendance will be taken. So what we're really trying to do is replicate a regular school day in a virtual environment. So that way, if a family moves back into the brick and mortar, or for whatever reason, they want to keep their kids home for 14 days quarantine, or they just, whatever, they can move in and out without that disruption. I think it's important for all of us to recognize that the first time we tried distance learning, it wasn't even something that existed in our world. And so when we got the call to shut down schools, I said, well, give us 2 weeks. We'll figure out something. And our team did the absolute best they could with no playbook, nothing to compare it to. But we quickly realized the inconsistencies. And so we began working on a much more robust system as early as May of last year. With the idea being, I want you to think of it as I-95. Our distance learning platform will be sort of the HOV lane. It's going to be here no matter what is happening. And so those of us who live in South Florida, we need this sort of environment, hurricane seasons or whatever other emergencies pop up. I want to be able to, and then there's another piece. I wasn't always Dr. Fenoy. I was a kid at one point and may or may not have been suspended from school. We'll leave that. My mother can tell you those stories. But, days that I was absent, parents would have to go to school and try to find work and chase teachers around. Well, now, if a kid happens to be home for whatever reason, just log into your classroom. So they won't miss that time like they once did. So that was our idea. Over the summer, we worked very hard to increase connectivity. And you've heard about that here. And I hope those who can will continue to contribute to that effort. We didn't realize, and again, this speaks to some of the privileges I have in my world. How many families, we found almost 16,000 families in the school system that did not have access to internet at all. So we immediately started communicating with our Ed Foundation, Economic Council, Business Development Board, Comcast, FPNL, you name it. Our community rallied around and was able to start the process. The county government, they gave $10 million to the effort. A lot of local municipalities are also working on this broadband issue. So for me, as a resident of Palm Beach County, to see people galvanize around this effort is something we should all be proud of. We were able to distribute close to 62,000 computers to families once school went out in March. We have now purchased another 80,000 machines to be distributed. Now, this is, once again, you talk about pivoting and change. I ordered those 80,000 machines back in April. Well, I should have known, if you're in an international crisis and everyone from school systems to many of you who are businesses and you have employees working from home, everybody in the world must have ordered computers at the same time. So we're now in a position where the shortages of materials, and then the other piece, the majority of our computers actually come from China. So with tariffs, machines are on boats. So the good news is we've been working with the different vendors, Dell and Linux and a couple other companies. So we started getting in our machines. We got 17,000 this week, and we're supposed to get 10,000 a week over the next few weeks. By Monday, we will have over 130,000 plus machines that will be handed out to families. I think I'm also suggesting to families like mine, my son, he had a computer from the district. We gave it back so that families in need can have that. And then we're just going to use one of our personal computers for him to go to school. So I'm asking families who have means, or if students have their own machines, to not pick up a machine. And we can get the machine once they come in the workflow, the machine started being shipped in, we will replace them. I think it's also important to understand that, again, I have to reiterate over these community partners, our ability to provide Wi-Fi for these families is huge. And we've even, at the school system, the board, our school board, our wonderful school board has even decided we're going to actually pay those bills for those families for a year. And so again, any money raised will help offset those costs. And let's be clear, we still have, uncertainty around economics moving forward. So there may be more families in need as the year progresses and we figure out more what happens with our financial situation. I really want to now talk more about getting back to brick and mortar. It is our collective commitment. And, as Kimberly said, we need to reopen our campuses as soon as it's safe. And for me, I want to really talk about what those plans will look like. So once the county moves into phase 2, students and staff returning to campuses will notice many safety modifications. These include, but are not limited to, revised campus movement procedures, social distancing in classrooms and common areas. There will be signage instructing students and staff of safety measures. Plexiglass will be placed in high contact areas such as the front offices and other places. We are increasing, there's something called a MERV rating, so we're increasing the frequency of filter changes in our air conditioning systems and increasing the quality. And so these are just some of the things, district cleaning crews, we have aerostatic Clorox sprayers and all kinds of stuff. But I want you all to understand, because I still find it fascinating how many citizens do not realize how large Palm Beach County schools are. So we have 30 million square feet of air-conditioned space that we're responsible for. Well over 200 properties, including our schools and other ancillary buildings, 23,000 employees, over 190,000 plus students. Now, think about their parents. So when we go back to school, we will move close to 1 million people in a way that hasn't been done in almost 6 months. So I want you to think about that. And so when I talk about the realities of outfitting this entire school system with all this PPE, at this point we spent, since April, $40 million just on personal protective equipment for all of our faculty, staff, students in that arena. Again, to those many changes, I want you all to be clear. What is a best practice today may change in the next 3 hours. And I mean that. Things change based on internal and external factors. So we're being flexible. There was some criticism of the district for not providing, plans back in June and all these details. Well, as a CEO, I was like, well, no, we're going to make our decisions as close as to the end point as possible. Because what was happening across the country, people were sending out plans early, and then it just started confusing people because new edicts came down, new rules come down from DOE. Literally on Friday, we had our press conference ready to go. Then over the weekend, the CDC changed the guidelines again. So all the documents had to be revised on Sunday night. And so I just want you to understand, when I say nimble and flexible, that's exactly where we are. I think it's also important to understand that our custodians and maintenance men and women have never stopped working. I've had these men and women working the entire time when many other people had the opportunity to work from home. And unfortunately, these are typically my lowest paid employees. And unfortunately, we had custodians pass away. So when I say that this thing is real and that our employees are doing everything and sacrificing everything they can to help our kids get back to school, I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Our employees have done everything that they can, and we will continue to do those things. But I want you to understand that, there are many people who didn't have a choice to stay home and work from home. And so I have to acknowledge those men and women. The school board also approved a new COVID-19 policy for students. It spells out guidelines about keeping students home when they are sick, self-reporting if a child tests positive for COVID, how to know when it's safe to return to a school as a family, and other information intended to keep our students and faculty safe. There are again, many changes. And so I also want you to understand that we have, I want families to be informed so they can make the best option for them and their families. The phone numbers for all the school district helplines are listed on our website at palmbeachschools.org. We have receptionists on the other side of those phones who speak multiple languages, so you can have it in English, Spanish, or Haitian Creole. And so please, if you know people who have not heard from their schools, their children's schools at this point, please tell them to reach out to their schools. One of the most important things I need right now is the most up-to-date contact information from all families. Because information is changing so fast, we need to be able to push information out. And I understand all families don't have computers and all those things. So we're really trying to diversify our communication. And so for me, part of my communication strategy is to ask friends like you to just use word of mouth in instances where the computer and the phones aren't working. So please share that information with anyone that you know. Please contact your school at this point if they have not heard, to get all the latest information about their child's school and school year. And I think I also want everyone to realize that, on that side, there's a plethora of back to school information. So our teachers this year will have office hours. So for the families, if you need to talk to a teacher, they'll be there available for you. Again, we're trying to create all kinds of support systems for all families. It's ironic, it's interesting, Kimberly said, I think even I as a superintendent have a better appreciation for what teachers do and the whole nine, because I'm a superintendent, I have all these degrees, my wife has all these degrees, and we both could not figure out 5th grade math. It was horrible. Rods and, I come from the old school, you just memorize your multiplication tables. Now the kids have all these new ways of doing things. And so we realized really quickly, even those of us who propose to be educated, that this is a different world. And so if you're familiar with Khan Academy, this is a wonderful gentleman out of California who basically created this online tutorial network where you can find any information from calculus all the way down to kindergarten. So we created our own Khan Academies to help parents, get additional lessons and them not trying to figure it out and be frustrated on their own. And so again, you know, we have a lot of resources that we're trying to provide for our parents and families. Again, we're going to start in distance learning on Monday. I'm excited. I'll be out visiting schools. But I also want everyone to understand, as soon as it's safe to go back to brick and mortar, your families will have that choice. You know, I think I want to also be clear, even when you go into those buildings, you will see things that are different. You know, parents, you will not be able to go into those buildings without an appointment. You know, you will have to go through all of our procedures and protocols. Everybody in the building will be required to wear masks. You know, and we know a lot of these things are controversial, but as we've worked with the health department and other medical health professionals and witnessed what is happening across the countries where schools are opening up without these things, we're going to do it. We're going to start as stern as we can and lessen up over time. I think that is a much better strategy than having it all loosey-goosey in the beginning and then trying to tighten up later. You know, so I implore all the parents and the entire community to be patient with us, because it will be different. You want to, you know, if your child misses their lunch, you're going to have to call to the school first and have someone meet you at the curb to pick that up. We're just not going to let people in the buildings randomly like we once did. All of our safety and security protocols, you know, I heard Kimberly mention that. We now have a school police officer in every school in the county. We're fully staffed and excited about that. We have an amazing chief. His name is Chief Frank Kiselewski. If you don't know him, he came out of Jupiter, who takes this thing serious. Safety of our kids and our staff members is of paramount to him and our officers. And so, you know, so in the middle of COVID, all the other things still exist. And we're working on those things. But again, our number one thing is academics and making sure our kids have a quality experience. But I also want to say this to you. The mental health side of this thing is just as real. In my opinion, we're not really going to get to the X's and O's of reading, writing, and arithmetic until we take moments to really talk about the trauma that everyone from my office all the way down to the custodians have felt. And our children, you know, again, in this particular platform, the good news here, you guys have learned, but you can see a lot into people's lives through these computers. And we unfortunately have seen some great things, but have seen some horrible things that are happening in our kids' lives. Unfortunately, you know, we've seen a rise in domestic violence amongst our teachers. And so we understand, and I want to thank this community for giving us the resources during our last referendum to put mental health professionals in every school. You know, I think everyone on this call has a story, been impacted by COVID in some way or the other. You know, my home is not excluded from those realities. And so I'm looking forward to those mental health professionals working with my own children on some of the things we dealt with this summer and they couldn't participate in. So I want you to just really think about this. We are much bigger than this reading, writing, and arithmetic. And I thank this community for giving us the resources to really start tackling and dealing with the mental health challenges that have and will continue to arise out of this pandemic. So at this time, I'm done. There's one phone number I want to give the group, 561-969-5840. Those are all of our helpline offices. Call that number and they'll get you to the right information. And that will be open Monday through Friday, especially for the next 2 weeks. And then we'll probably reopen it once again, once we make the final call to go back to brick and mortar and it's time to move in that phase. But again, when you see an employee of the Palm Beach County School District, please just say thank you. You know, again, we move a city every day and you know, there's a lot ahead of us and we're nervous, but we're also excited. And there's no playbook for this. No one's done any of this before. But as Kimberly said, you know, we're going to keep revising and pushing forward and being patient with one another, but also just keeping our kids as the forefront of all our decisions. So I thank you for this short period of time. I hope I'm able to answer whatever questions you have available with the most accurate information today. And Rick, I turn it over back to you. Thank you.
All right, thanks. Before Dennis starts, I just want to let you guys know that we've got, I think we're approaching $900 in commitments coming in so far. So that's in addition to the $3,000 that's already been committed for matching. So folks, keep it coming in. $5, $10. We do take Bitcoin. If anybody's got a used car you want to donate, we'll take it. We'll convert it to cash. We'll scrap it. All right, Dennis, but thanks. Keep it coming. I've noticed some people have problems logging into that thing. Send Michelle or Donald an email. Let them know. We're going to keep taking money. All right. Thank you, Dennis.
Thank you, Rick. I'd like to recognize Song and Associates who just sent in and committed to a $250 donation. We thank them. They've been active members of the Chamber as trustee and board members for a number of years. Dr. Fenoy, great information. We have a chat room full of questions. Let me begin by the one that may have come from a student, not sure. How will student attendance be taken in distance learning?
That's a tricky question. Trying to figure out how to get around the system, I see. Well, unfortunately, you can't get around the system. We are the #1 Google certified district in the world. We have more Google certified educators than anyone. So what does that mean? All of our platforms are on Google. We don't use Microsoft, none of that stuff. So what that means from a district perspective, anytime a child logs onto our platform, we record that. And so I can tell, honestly, from our offices, we can see where every computer is turned on in the entire county. And again, I shouldn't be sharing this with the kids, but I might as well tell them every computer that we have has tracking devices on them. So if that machine, if you're on vacation in the Bahamas, I'll know that. And so, so again, technology has evolved. And so this is sort of a big brother scenario. So when that child logs in, it'll be recorded, and that's how we'll know their attendance is being taken.
Great answer. One of my past board members inquires, will the district be conducting grade level reading and math tests during this period?
So, so the schools, yes, they will still have regular tests. Nothing will change. And I'm wondering if the question is more about the state standardized tests that
You're
were
probably
canceled
correct.
last year. Okay, so they were canceled last year. We have not received any indication from the Florida Department of Education that this year's exams will be paused. So we're proceeding as if they're still going on in the spring.
The next question, possibly also from a student and parents and the general community. What about sports and extracurricular activities during this period, Dr. Fenoy?
So that's a great question. So we're actually having a meeting today to finalize those realities. Palm Beach County, Dade County, and Broward County are basically zoned off from the rest of the state of Florida, obviously with the heightened number of COVID cases. So because all 3 of those counties have not gone back to any form of brick and mortar, as a matter of fact, we don't have a date yet, we're working with the Florida High School Athletic Association on possibly creating our own league. So we are absolutely planning on still having sports when it's safe. More information will be coming out about that, if not tomorrow, the next week. So you should shortly, we'll see practices resume. Again, as a person that played football, my father was a huge football player. You don't play sports like that unless you practice. You know, unfortunately, as a principal, as an executive leader, I have personally witnessed kids pass away in front of me from football injuries. And so I'm going to be very careful about that. And across the country, you're seeing whole volleyball teams and softball teams being quarantined for COVID. We have coaches. So we have to be excruciating. We have to be so careful when it comes to sports because of the spread. But we understand that it's an important part of the experience. But I also want to say to families, I want you to be very cognizant. I have a nephew that is a freshman at the University of Nebraska. He's supposed to play football there. You have to imagine now, since his season is canceled in the Big Ten, all of those students are now eligible to play next year. So the question is, will there even be scholarships available for students next year? And what does all of that look like? I have another nephew who should have went to the NFL this year, but decided to stay back in college to keep his eligibility. Now, of course, that was a lot of family pressure to go finish his degree. But without kids exiting to go to the professional sports, and without the freshmen moving up to their sophomore ranks, there's not going to be a lot of space. So there's still a lot of conversations with the colleges and universities on how it will look next year. But again, with all these big leagues shutting down, we're not sure. But at the local level, we're also trying to follow that lead. So safety is going to be paramount, but we are working diligently with all 3 counties. And there could be a strong possibility where there's a South Florida championship series and a series of sports. So we may just lock ourselves off and just do it all down south.
Very good. Following question, what happens after campuses reopen if a student appears sick or presents sickness symptoms at school?
So they will immediately, the healthcare district of Palm Beach County provides nurses in all of our schools. So, we will go through a series of protocols. We'll put that child in the isolation room. Every campus will have an isolation room. The family will be contacted to pick that child up immediately. We will have a series of PPE surrounding around that, and then that child will be given instructions to stay home for up to 14 days. If 10 days there are no more symptoms, they can come back, or they can come back early with a negative test result. So all of those protocols are spelled out. We have a guidebook an electronic guidebook that basically translates all of these technical policies that we had to create over the last month. It's electronic, it's on our website. It's about 30 pages long. Please go read that document. It'll spell it all out. And it's also important to maybe give yourself a reminder to probably review it every Monday, because because it's an electronic document, we're purposely not printing it to update it with the latest CDC guidelines or whatever new stuff is coming out. But that will sort of be our guide moving forward. So I encourage you to follow the procedures outlined in that document.
Dr. Fenoy, what can parents do to ensure that their kids get the most out of this school year?
Well, I think first and foremost, one of the protocols that we put in place, that we're asking parents to look at your children every day, like literally, check their temperatures. Again, I've learned a lot of things about how parents operate. So if one probably glaring thing you'll notice is that we're not taking temperatures, right? We met with the healthcare professionals. Even if 50% of our families come back brick and mortar, that's 100,000 kids. So the question was, how are you logistically, like imagine Jupiter High School, Boca Raton High School, Wellington High School. These schools are all over 3,000 children. So even if 50% come back, you have to congregate these kids in a parking lot. And again, I want you to remember, they're teenagers. So if I haven't seen my girlfriend or any girl in 5 months, the likelihood of them being socially distanced in a parking lot waiting to get their temperature checked is slim to none. So as a former principal and as a former teenager, I recognize the impossibility there. So we're asking families to do a lot of the self-checks and make those hard decisions as a family to just keep them home until you can be sure that it's safe for them to return. I think practicing and encouraging your children to wear their masks continuously. Again, I'm not a scientist, but it seems clear to me, if we wear our masks, it will at least diminish the possibility of it being spread. I would also encourage families, we will be providing all kinds of PPE, but you can best believe my children will have their own sanitation wipes in their book bags. So even though we will be wiping down high contact areas, I think we should teach our kids to do the same. When they sit down, wipe down your desks. Wipe down, if you get on a plane, wipe down your seat. So I think there's an opportunity to, again, create this new normal around cleanliness, washing hands. My 4-year-old now has this song, I guess she learned at her school. So every day she comes home from school, she starts singing the song, I gotta go wash my hands, Daddy. And so this, conditioning our children to have these best practices is what I would ask parents to do. And I think also, lastly, I would say for parents, when you're frustrated, and you will, call someone or just pause, just take a break. I think it's okay to give ourselves permission to fail every now and then and just pause and reset.
Great advice. There were obviously you had a significant impact on our listeners this morning, Dr. Fenoy. I've got a number of questions on internet connectivity and Wi-Fi. Let me just take one of them. What efforts have been made since the primary election to enhance schools' internet connectivity as a result of the publication that there were difficulties with the supervisor of election getting data from some polling locations that were centered in schools?
So I'm not familiar with, I really can't answer that. I don't know if they brought in their own servers, but we have not had, the school district of Palm Beach County invested over $250 million in our infrastructure 2 years ago. So I have not experienced any challenges with our internet. So
the connectivity on the school district side is 100% and has been verified, and hopefully we'll have no interruption in virtual classes.
Yeah, so you have to understand, we on any given day, you'll have 200,000, if not 300,000 kids and faculty and all of us. Even our buses now have Wi-Fi on them. So if they were bringing in machines into our network, I could see some complications there. These networks are very sensitive about what type of devices join it. But Mr. Link, I have not heard that as an issue on our end.
You mentioned work by the academics team and technical work over the summer. What else was going on behind the scenes, June through?
Okay, a lot of national calls. I mean, again, a lot of policy-driven stuff. We were also doing rewriting curriculum, spending a lot of time processing feedback from families. We did send out surveys, we did a lot of calls. I think also just a lot of work was done reconfiguring a lot of the physical spaces to see what could be done there. Oh, the list is just so long. A lot of policies around employers, contract, remember I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 unions. So I've been in a lot of negotiating tables, on and on and on. And then honestly, the other big thing we've been working on, which is more of a senior executive level, is the realities of the potential budget shortfalls post the election. So yeah, that and much, much, much more.
Well, Dr. Fenoy, this is the most questions we've ever had at our back to school breakfast. And I think it's indicative of the interest of the business community and parents with regards to the challenges facing the school district in this unique period. I'm going to turn things back over to Rick and once again thank people for their questions and most importantly for their donations of money. Rick?
Dennis, thank you so much for helping out and leading the question and answer session. Dr. Fenoy, thank you so much for your leadership and insight and remembering your teenage years. I think that helps a lot. And especially in this really weird and challenging time. So far, drum roll, so far we're at a little over $4,000 total. I know some people have had some trouble connecting in to donate. So please get a hold of, in the chat room that you've got Michelle's email address. Let her know. We're going to keep the collection boxes out and open, but we're over $4,000 so far. So that's absolutely awesome money coming in to help those who really need it in these weird times. I want to thank again our presenting sponsor, Kaiser University, Kimberly Lee, and also Baptist Health, our Wi-Fi sponsor with Michelle McGovern. We hope everyone has a very safe and outstanding day, and thank you for being here. All right, I think we're good.
Thank you, guys. Take care.
Thanks.